Me now, Florida Congressman Greg Steube and my pal General Keith Kellogg. Thanks to both of you very much. Greg Steube, one thing's for sure, the United States government never gives Israel full backing. You know, I mean, the rhetoric coming out of Biden or Harris, yeah, we think that Israel should defend itself, but. And somewhere in the middle of those buts, yesterday or the day before, Hezbollah decided to strike and take out these children playing soccer or, you know, European football up north in Israel. I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's almost like, what do you expect to happen, happened.
Well, yeah, and what do you expect to happen when we're also funding Lebanon? I filed amendments to try to withdraw some of that funding. This congressman in the Republican House stands with Israel, but this administration does not. And they are trying to weave a very political position where they're trying to keep the far left progressive part of their party that support the Palestinians and support, you know, opening up $6 billion to the Iranians from the more Jewish part of their party that obviously supports Israel. But you saw the snub by Vice President Harris on Bibi Netanyahu's speech last week, and I think that says a lot about her position and support for Israel. But the Republican House certainly supports them. We've passed numerous bills to support Israel's military. I actually think this was a very measured response for the attack that Hezbollah had on Israel.
Yeah, General Keith Kellogg, welcome back. You know, I think what Greg is saying is it was a measured response. It sounds like a triumph of Israeli intelligence if they got this commander who's had a price on his head of whatever, $5 million going back to 1983 when I worked for Reagan and that horrible attack occurred on the U.S. barracks in Lebanon. I mean, if they got him, terrific. I'm going to have to say that because of what he has done to this country down through the years and to Israel. What do you think about it, Keith?
Yeah, Larry, thanks for having me. Look, he was the number 2 in Hezbollah. If they got him, if they didn't get him, they'll probably try and get him again. Look, this is very clearly, we're on a path of escalation here. That's very understandable. Because what the Israelis had to do when that attack occurred on the Druze children, and the Druze are only about 2% of Israel, but it's part of the Arab population, and they had to respond. They were against the kids, and it was an appropriate response. And I think now it's up to Hezbollah. Where do you want to go with this, with Nasrallah? You know, and you look at the war cabinet that Netanyahu now has, and there's really only 3 people who are part of that war cabinet. It's himself, Gallant, the Secretary of Defense, the Minister of Defense, and Ron Dermer, who used to be American ambassador, the Israeli ambassador to the United States. And they're going to go full bore. If Nasrallah now has an option, the option is to either stand down or to respond, either hit Haifa or Tel Aviv with rockets. If he does that within the next 24, 48 hours, then you're going to see a major escalation in the region against Hezbollah. There are reports that the Minister of Defense, Gallant, really wanted to go after Hezbollah first before they went after Hamas. In other words, fix that problem and then go after Hamas is the second problem. And they'll have no option but to do that. So I think this is one of those where we go, okay, we're okay right now, just take a chill pill. It's not going to happen. We're on a real risk here of greater escalation. And I think the Israelis have the right to do that. In fact, we should back them 100%. The only concern I've got is, after 9 months of war against Hamas, how much equipment do they have to go after Hezbollah? This would be the 3rd war in Lebanon. It would be a significant war. When you look at the state of Hezbollah, it happens to be actually the largest non-state military actor in the world. And they've got plenty of munitions. It would be a heavy fight. But I think the Israelis will do it. They're willing to do it. Well, and we just we should say, as the United States,
that's right.
We're behind you 100%.
I mean, Greg Steube, that's the thing what General Kellogg just said. I mean, you know, Bibi Netanyahu comes to the United States, goes before Congress, gives a tremendous speech. We win, they lose. We win, they lose. There is a difference between good and evil. Israel didn't pick this fight, Greg. Israel didn't pick the fight on October 7th. Israel didn't pick the fight with Hamas, with Hezbollah just again. Israel is trying to defend its own statehood and livelihood, and Jewishhood, for that matter. And the USA should be much stronger in its backing, Craig. I mean, it's a moral issue. It's a difference between good and evil. That's what Netanyahu told Congress. Is anybody listening at 1600 Pennsylvania?
Well, nobody at 1600 Pennsylvania right now is listening. President Trump is certainly listening and supports Israel. I support Israel 100%. You are absolutely correct. Israel has every right to defend themselves against terrorists, globally recognized, known terrorists in both Hamas and Hezbollah, and has every right to respond in kind. 12 children were murdered by a rocket attack in Israel. I think it also sends a very strong signal that they decided to attack this Hezbollah leader in Beirut, and telling them, hey, look, we can attack all the way into your capital if it's necessary, but we are doing it in a measured, responsive way to take out Hezbollah's leader, one of their leaders. I think it's a very measured response, but they certainly could do more. And I think the United States should do everything we can to support our ally in the Middle East.
These Iranian-backed terrorists are cowards. They are cowards. Iran, populated by cowards. And the least the United States should do, I got to get out. I'm running up against the hard break. The least we could do was have the unconditional sanctions on Iran restored. Stop their oil production and their oil sales. You cut that off, and you cut off a lot of different things. I got to get out. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Congressman Greg Steube, thank you for coming on. My friend, General Keith Kellogg, we appreciate it.